When I was a child, my mom left me back in Africa to come to the UK. I was just living in different places. I was living with different family members. There wasn't any stability. I didn't have a stable home really per se. At the age of around 9, I came to the UK to join my mom. And now she had a family. She had her husband and my siblings. That's when things got even challenging because obviously I didn't grow up with her. And our relationship, we just couldn't gel. I faced various abuse by her. I was verbally abused. I was called things like, I wish I didn't have you. You're good for nothing. You're ugly. I have other children. I don't need you. So my mom would severely beat me as well. I was a very quiet child. I didn't have, friends, this types of thing. I wasn't interested in going out with friends or whatever. I was very obedient and still, nothing I did was ever good enough for her. When I'm sleeping, she would come and she would drag me from the bed and she would just beat me just because I look like my dad. She would beat me so much that I would even bleed on the floor. She left marks on my face with her nails, just on my cheeks. Apart from the physical abuse, it was more so the things that she was saying to me. Things like, I wish I didn't have you. Your father don't love you. Your grandmother doesn't care about you. The hurtful words that scarred me. Eventually, at the age of 16, she told me to leave the house. And so I had to go. At this point, I didn't have even any document to prove who I was, because coming here as a child, I came with someone else's document, so I became homeless. I didn't have passport or anything to show this is who I am. I was 16, I was walking around trying to find a solicitor to help me sort out my immigration problem. I had to grow up very quickly, and I resented that. I resented the fact that I didn't have a childhood. I resented the fact that I didn't have a family that for me was normal, I didn't have a mother that wanted me in a way. All these things happened, different events happened. I then got into a relationship with someone who, he wanted to help me, let's say. That's how it started in the beginning, I was young, he was 10 years older than me, and it ended up him being my boyfriend, and I was attached, and I became very attached to him. Shortly after, I fell pregnant, and then that's when I started to see his true colors. So he said, well, I needed to get rid of the child. But for me, my intention was that I wanted to have a family. This could be my family, him, my child. It didn't work out that way. At that moment, of course, knowing that this partner of mine that I wanted to have a relationship with rejected my child, rejected our child, and the whole plan that I had, that was very painful. I was very young, but I was still studying. I was doing my best to try and, make something out of my future. I was just fed up. I knew that there was a God. I knew that there was something above everything, right? And I'd always been searching for that, but I just didn't know how to connect with God. And luckily, walking past Finsbury Park at the time, I remember that someone had invited me to, the VYG, because at that point, I just was very lost. I was already a very angry person. Even though I was young, I was very angry. I didn't know how to socialize with others. I didn't have any, socialization skills in terms of being a young person. So I was just, I needed help. So it was nice to be around people my age, being in the environment. For me, I was already different in the sense that I couldn't really relate to some of these people because they had families, they had normal things. The first thing that I had to do was sit down and talk. I needed to talk about what I was going through. And that really helped to start the process of my change. So I remember speaking to the youth pastor at the time. He didn't use emotions. Of course, he sympathized with me, but he simply said, you have to forgive. What do you mean, forgive? Did you not hear what I've just told you? I've been through this. I've suffered. I had to sort out my immigration myself. I had to do so much things, but I can see now that he was trying to lead me in the right way. I was progressing spiritually. However, there was something in particular that happened whilst I was in this journey with Christ, whilst I was in the church, a situation that happened that really affected me. So at this point, I'd already forgiven my mom, I'd already forgiven, everything that she's put me through and etc. but I could not let go of this situation that had happened to me. I was accused of enticing someone's husband to me, right? That accusation destroyed me because I'd never been like this in the world, even though I had opportunities to be. And, to be accused of this, in the church, I didn't really know how to deal with it. So I just bottled it up. For many years, I bottled it up. And within me, anger was growing inside of me. It revealed to me that, the fact that I didn't want to forgive, even though, I had many years to forgive, this people that was involved, I chose not to. I didn't want to. I wanted them to pay for the situation somehow. And this then delayed my own progress in my spiritual life. It delayed, what God wanted to do within me and inside of me. So I knew that the campaign of Israel worked because things were progressing. I did loads of campaigns and things were progressing. However, there was still that missing thing. There was still that thing that I didn't want to let go of. And it was slowly eating me inside. It was as if I was rotting from the inside, and it took years and gradually to the point where I could no longer recognize myself. I didn't change. I wasn't changed inside. I was not a new person. Even though I physically was doing things seemed to be progressing, there was still a limit, and I had reached that limit where I then became very frustrated to the point where even Satan had access to my life because I started to have, those things I was having, like the panic attacks or the nightmares were sort of now coming, the desire to not wanting to be alive was now coming. And I was in the church. I was blaming everybody else. I was blaming people that, that accused me of things. I was blaming, how my life started. But really, once I looked within, finally, once I addressed me and I changed, I let go of the situation. It did not take long for my deliverance to happen and for me to receive the Holy Spirit. The moment I realized and I understood that I needed help, I understood that I wasn't who I thought I was, that led me to surrender everything that I have. I was so broken. I was so ashamed that I had lived wasting so many years. I decided to build my sacrifice based on surrender. Previously, my campaigns were, for my spiritual life would just be, a lot of money on the altar. There wasn't really anything that was within me. That would just present a lot of money on the altar and that was it. But this one was different in the sense that I had to surrender myself. I had to break my pride. I had to surrender everything, all the disappointments, all the hurts, all the grudges. That was the greatest sacrifice. I had to let go of it. I had to trust God with my entire life. The moment I went on the altar and I presented this and also myself, that's when my life changed. Shortly after, I received my deliverance, and the next day after my deliverance, I received the Holy Spirit. From that moment on, my life has completely changed. It's almost as if there is it changed right from day and night. It's two different type of Tivere, two different type of life. But what changed was knowing that God was with me. The self-pityness that I had for so many years, oh, poor me, it disappeared. I had an identity for the first time in my life. I wasn't a lost child. I wasn't a mistake anymore. Receiving the Holy Spirit, it was all I needed to really change my life, because prior to that, I was a very determined person. That's why I was able to achieve a lot of things. That heaviness that I had inside of me that was weighing me down disappeared. Because I changed within me, I was able to establish a financial life that I would not have been able to have established before, because probably I wouldn't have the mannerism, whilst at work to deal with to deal with people because, probably I would have just been bursting out of anger, out of nowhere. My marriage is a blessing. I'm a blessing to my husband. I have a very, very happy marriage. I honestly believe that I would not be the person I am today without the Holy Spirit. There was no fixing me. I was already a broken case. And my brokenness wasn't physically, it was inside. There wasn't a amount of anything physically that could have fixed me, honestly, because I was a broken case. I was a lost case inside. God was able to reach me from the inside and change that. And now the boldness that I have today, the things that I have to do, even in my career, at work, the old me without the Holy Spirit could not have been able to do that. Everything about me, God has made new, and I would not have been able to achieve this without the Holy Spirit.